that is that. And now, just so everybody knows, every class day in class, I record the video. And I got a little laptop camera right here. It's just recording me. I have no other like cameras around the room or anything. But the audio from the room is recorded. So just so you're aware that if you ask a question or something, and it might appear on the audio. And what I usually try to do is each week I have a 1301 class, a 1302 class, and a Brit-Lit class, and I try to take like the one that like went the best or had the most information and post that on like a YouTube playlist that I have, which I'll show you here in a few minutes on Blackboard. But that way, if you miss a lesson, you can go and you can catch up with it on there. Or if I talked about how to do a paper or how to submit something and you're like, how did he say to do that again? You can go and look at the video and just kind of find the spot where I said it. And then those usually get edited and then uploaded. I edit them on like Friday at school, like while I'm here for office hours. And then they usually get uploaded to YouTube by around Sunday. Near the end of the semester, I don't do videos as detailed, or I don't upload the videos with as much. I guess it's not as important to upload the videos once we've got the research paper lessons all out of the way, because after that we have like different stuff that's going on. So I usually don't upload the last couple of weeks of videos, but for the most part, all the way up through week 12, I'm pretty good about getting them posted. So just so you know, you might have like a posted video, like you ask a question and the audio might appear on there. So I passed you the physical syllabus, but I'll be going through the digital syllabus on, let me go ahead and close the attendance file before I save and close. Okay. So I'll be going through it up here because it's easier to, I think, follow along what I'm doing if you see like what I'm doing. So I'm going to log in as my fake student. I might use the cord. I think it's going to go a little faster. I think everybody's playing their games and whatnot on their phones or has the notifications and stuff. Okay. Is that even right? It's going to do that thing where it makes me enter it again, isn't it? This is fun, huh? I mean, I'd like to show you around Blackboard, but if I don't get a chance to today, I could do that a different day. Well, I think what I'm going to do is just I can just look at the syllabus manually if I have to. 1302. It's still, yeah. Looks like the internet's going slow, so we'll just do this the old-fashioned way. And by old-fashioned, I mean digitally, but differently, not online. So my syllabus will be color-coded. Yours is black and white. It's only because the copier won't print color, so I give you like a black and white one. But I do think that the color syllabus is superior. In fact, I generally think that the online syllabus is the best way to go because all these links that you see here in my table of contents on the first page are actually clickable in the online version. So if you use the PDF, not the docx version like the one that you can download with Windows or Word, but the PDF one. Like if I was to say, what's this grade policy? You can just click grade policy and it goes directly there. I don't think a lot of teachers have this, even though I realized I kind of wanted to do something like this when it's weird. My generation thought that your generation would be the technologically advanced generation. Y'all just, the ones who are like 18 to 21 right now, y'all mostly use technology way more than my generation does, but you don't really know how to do a lot with it. Like if the app is not made where like everything makes sense with your fingers and what you do, it's just like if I try to tell my daughter like, well, here's what you do, you download this file and you install it, and she's like, I don't know what you just said. But she can get around like Snapchat, like find all like crazy stuff in there. That how did you even figure out how to do that? Or like if I lock everything on her phone where she can't do anything, she can still figure out a way to FaceTime her boyfriend at 3 a.m. Like I don't know how she It's like scratching and surviving kind of situation. Yeah, this is spring 2020. This is English 2. I'm Nichols. Let's see if we've got Blackboard loaded yet. Still? Wait until the action is complete. They just literally tell me to be patient. What if I disconnect from the Wi-Fi? Will it then default to the cord? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so if I go here, I just like this better. So this is the way you'll see Blackboard. Now it's got PowerPoints area, but that's PowerPoints that I don't really go over those anymore. But it'll help you if you want to know more detail about like the literature we're reading. And this is what the main page of our Blackboard page looks like. If you go to My Institution and you click 1302, this PDF that I've been looking at for a second is accessible here, and we'll look at that one from now on. But I also have this available in the Word file because that's how I make it. I mean, I don't think that's any better than the PDF for you guys. I also have, in case you guys haven't done this yet, because it's possible, I think, to get through the first semester without doing Dragon Mail, really. But that's all of our communication. The college's communication to you comes through Dragon Mail by default. So it's good to have it set up on your phone to work with. And I have like how to set it up here. I also have how to like get onto Launchpad. I have not activated Launchpad yet. So if you were really diligent and you responded to those emails that came in, does y'all see like emails like popping into your phones like at 12:30 this morning, 1 a.m. going like, hey, class is ready. Like, I don't know why they do that. Like, nobody's going to wake. Everybody, what the? Oh, shut up, PJ. It's not time yet. But yeah, if you had gotten started on Launchpad this morning and said like, hey, it's not working, it's because I don't have it turned on yet. I want to have a chance to talk to you guys first, tell you to look at these instructions first, and always link from Launchpad itself. Don't go directly from the instructions on the little card pack that they give you. That doesn't work as well. In fact, it might not let your grades come from Launchpad over to Blackboard. But if you click from Blackboard to do your first Launchpad assignment like you did in 1301, then it'll work just fine. In fact, I had a problem last semester with a girl who she linked over Blackboard. The first time she did it on her own and used her Gmail address. The second time she tried to do it through Blackboard, and then it didn't take her code because she'd already used her code before, and she used her personal email address, so she couldn't figure out like who was who. So it was, so just come here first and do it first this way, and I'll tell you once it's ready to go. It's not like in the math class where you have to immediately have your Launchpad ready to go, or you're going to be behind. It's in my class, it's more of a self-paced Launchpad, so don't worry that you're not getting it done immediately. I have the calendar, like the color-coded like course calendar just below, because I feel like that's the most important bit of the syllabus. It's what we're doing each day and when assignments are due. But back to the I'll show you the stuff on the sidebar real quick. So the syllabus is here, and that's where you're always going to start out a syllabus page. You can get to the PDF syllabus right there. And then one of the types of assignments we have are discussion posts. You can see there's discussion posts available now to do. And then there's quizzes. The only quiz we have right now is over the syllabus, which you should do after attending class the first day. Then any assignments we have are going to be here. I believe by the end of class today, the info sheet assignment is going to pop in so I can show you where to go to do that. Then the Launchpad labs, once we get started there, here. The lesson videos I was talking to you about, where I have a playlist with videos, will be here, but there are no videos yet. If you go to like last semester's, though, you can see that I have a bunch of my classes, like basically all of my classes I taught last semester through week 12 are there for you to look through if you wanted to, like, I don't know, get ahead or something. And then I have PowerPoints that we don't really go over but are there in case you want them, and then your grade sections here. For those who haven't had a teacher yet who has used a lot of Blackboard, I know some people go through the first semester and don't really use Blackboard much at all. In my class, it's used for just about everything. I just want everybody to be aware of that. So going back here, clicking on the PDF, brings us to the first page here. We can go through that. And just let you know, most of the first day today is going to be the syllabus, just going over it, going over what's in the class. I have a lot more in my syllabus than maybe some teachers do. And just so you know, every single class I tend to go the full time. I know a lot of teachers will let out early the first day. I don't really do that. Just so you have the expectations that you're going to be here every day, like the full time. You're not like thinking, hey, it's 45 minutes in, when am I going to go? It's always going to be an hour and 15 minutes, just so you are aware. So we'll go Y'all know what a syllabus is, don't you? Syllabus document that explains everything you need to know for a class. Color coding has different meaning depending on the parts of the syllabus. Most important in the calendar section. So go to teacher contact page. It's just the next page. I just like to click it. It's fun. It's like a web page. So this is spring 2020. I'm Nichols. Did I didn't say my name yet? Mr. Nichols. That's my email address. It's the best way to contact me. This is my office phone. It's there because they make me put it on there. I spend most of my time in this room because it's the way I'm able to get the most stuff done, and all my classes occur here. So usually when students leave for the day, I just kind of camp out here, set my computer up for like getting work done, and then I close the door. And usually if you knock, like if it's during office hours, you knock, I'm still here. You can I'll come and open the door for you. But yeah, I'm usually not in my office, so if you call, you're not going to be able to catch me. Everything we do for the class basically would be on Blackboard or through Blackboard, so that's why I put that on there as well. This schedule actually has where I am at all times, not just when the class meets. So you can see that this is the first thing I do in the week, 9:30 to 10:45, our class. And then the rest of the week you can see like I have one class, other class on Monday, Wednesday. On Tuesday, Thursday, I'm in class all the way from 8 to 2:15 with like a little lunch break in the middle. And then office hours, I have a lot of those on Monday, Wednesday from 12:15 to 3, a little bit longer, 3 to 4 on Wednesday. And then I'm here on Fridays for a bit as well. But Tuesday, Thursday is not very much office hours at all. So if you try to catch me on that day, it'd be pretty hard. Textbooks. So there's a couple of different books. Those who had me for 1301, I remember first day I showed you the textbook and said, this is the textbook. And I said, it's really important to have because you got to have, Launchpad access. So make sure you buy them together because it has a Launchpad, which is true again. But if you're somehow able to get Launchpad super cheap and then you're like, I'm just going to not get the book, that really doesn't work this semester. Some people realized last semester that, well, he kind of goes over everything. The thing is, in this semester, and notice the title is arguing about literature. So there's literary readings that are collected into this textbook. If you're able to locate some of the literary readings online, I guess it's possible, but we noticed last year there were some discrepancies between the ones that are in this book and the ones that people were able to find online. I had a student tell me something wrong about a story, and I was like, why did he say that? And it's because literally like the one that he read online deleted the last 2 paragraphs of the story like they weren't there. And so everything he understood about the story was wrong. So all the stories that you'll need for this class, poems, drama, will be in this book. And it's essential to have the book, maybe unlike it was in 1301 where you could have maybe got by without it. This book, everything we're doing is about the book. So without the book, you won't have the stories at all. And that's what everything in this class is about. So that's that book. Then there's the Pocket Style Manual. This, I think, is useful for every class you have in college. So if you sold it back last semester, that's unfortunate. We're not even doing APA this semester. We're doing MLA. So if you got used to the citation style last semester in 1301, at least with me, we did APA. You're supposed to do it in all classes, but now we're doing MLA, so it's going to be a completely different citation style. So if you sold this back, then you're going to have to relearn something else without the book. That's going to be kind of tough. Additionally, this will help you throughout all of college because every time you have to use research for any class, this will be useful. And then this comes with as well. This is our Launchpad labs, but for this class. Again, don't try to enter the information in until I've told you how to do that. That probably will happen next time. So let's see. Also, any handouts I give you, you're kind of responsible for keeping up with. So if I give you a syllabus, you keep up with that. It's online as well, but not everything that I hand you will be. Kind of use your own discretion to figure out what word processing program you should use for class. I think Microsoft Word's the best. It has the least problems when submitting assignments to Blackboard. But if you're used to Google Docs and using Google Docs, you're welcome to use that as well. It can also export things so they can be uploaded to Blackboard. Although I've noticed that sometimes there are differences in the way that it looks on your Google Docs versus the way it looks on Blackboard when you submit it. So people have had issues with that. I'm not too, sympathetic to people who say that oh, I did my assignment and like, oh, I was writing it and it just disappeared. I don't know what happened. Like Google Docs especially saves things, and I don't know. I just don't like that. Just a heads up. I had a student who one semester, every single time there was an assignment, told me I was writing it, and then my computer crashed. And I was like, really? It's terrible. You have your computer with you though. Just show me the assignment. And they were like, it won't. I can't. It's. Yeah. I was like, yeah. That's what I thought. He said he had it. It just. Oh no. He told me his computer crashed after he said that Blackboard wasn't working for him. So I was like, that's an unfortunate digital environment you live in. But just make sure you get stuff submitted. So the state has certain things that they want you doing in this class, like they want us to get out of the course. So I mean, I can read through all of this if you like, but generally it's the same kinds of benefits that you would normally get from an English class. So we're going to be intensively studying and practicing the strategies and techniques for developing research-based expository and persuasive texts. It sounds fun, right? Emphasis on effective and ethical rhetorical inquiry, including primary, secondary research methods, critical reading of verbal, visual, and multimedia text, systematic evaluation, synthesis, and documentation of information sources, and critical thinking about evidence and conclusions. Most of you are here kind of because it's required, but the main things we're trying to develop here, I think, in this class are your critical thinking skills, communication skills, in some degrees your ability to teamwork, and your sense of personal responsibility. I actually like to think about it, social responsibility as well, which is what some classes have, but not English for some reason. But I thought that social responsibility is kind of the point of literature, but I guess the state sort of disagrees. Maybe just because they need somewhere to put a word, because they assign certain ideas to certain classes. Let's see, I think it's all of that. And then the grade policy. So those of you who had me for 1301, it works quite similarly, I think, in terms of the overall class, although there's a little difference in the ratio of things and the way in which we work with literature. So in-class discussion, participation, and teamwork, which added the teamwork element to it that hasn't always been there before, but like if we break off into groups in class, that's worth like 5%. So kind of just being here and being involved is worth 5%. We have something new in this class called discussion posts. Those are on Blackboard and they're worth 10% of the class. The quizzes in this class are worth 10%, not 5%, but there are more of them. Now Launchpad is separate from what I have the quizzes. So the quizzes are over the literature from the book, whereas Launchpad works just about exactly like Launchpad last semester. It's about the same kinds of materials and the same kinds of information. And it's still the least that I can have it be worth, which is 15%. We have 3 essays that are the same type of essay. One over a short story, one over a play, or the only play we're reading in the class, and one over a poem. And each one of those is worth 5%, which adds up to 15% of the class. So it's basically the same essay you're writing 3 times on 3 different types of literature, which I'll be assigning next time and go over it in more detail. A critical analysis essay, which for some reason I've abbreviated incorrectly to CE instead of CA. I think I'll go manually back and change that later. I mean, it doesn't really matter in terms of like the abbreviation for you on the sheet, but I have the correct name here. It's just abbreviated incorrectly. But that's worth 10%, so it's a little more than the regular essays. Then everything with the research essay kind of works exactly the same as it was in my class in 1301, where there's a planning and a presentation where you're kind of proposing the paper to me, and then later when you present the findings from your research, that's worth 10%. The research paper itself is worth 20%. And then there's a handwritten essay exam, which almost nobody writes. In fact, I think I might have had 0 people last semester write this paper. It's worth 5% of the class, but there's a way you can become exempt. That's why nobody ended up writing it. And that's broken down into points if you don't work as well with percentages as you do with points. Assignments, all this really says is it needs to be an MLA style, which is similar to APA style. You'll just need to be aware of that, because we're not going to have a separate day where we go over MLA style, because most people did that in high school. And if you did APA from this book, then you just flip over to the other tab that's MLA and follow kind of the same principles. There are formatting differences, but not many. It's mainly in the citations that there are differences. Make sure you submit work on time. Now, academic honesty, you can read that at your own time, but basically it says don't cheat off other people, don't let other people cheat off you, don't turn in work you've already turned in before for another class. Do all your work originally in this class. Don't have other people write work for you. Here, I'll take that. Thank you. Anybody else need this? Everybody got it? Okay. Now, when we get to the research paper, or if you ever use research without citing it properly, it'll be a 0 until you cite it properly. I'm assuming that people who accidentally don't put a citation on a research paper, that was just an oversight if you're obviously quoting from something. But I'll be like, it's a 0 because I don't really know that you're intentionally or unintentionally doing this right now, but that'll be way later. Attendance, it's important to attend. It is possible to technically pass this class without ever coming, but your chances of being able to successfully do that go down the more class you miss, because we talk about the literature and how to understand it, and then if later on in class, like you write an essay about a piece of the work. Let's try this again. You write an essay about a literary work that you never heard us talk about in class, and you, for example, like Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken, it's a poem a lot of people are familiar with, but really don't know about. Like, when you read it, it seems like it's one way, but really it's another. And if you missed that discussion where we talked about it, and you're saying this is obviously a very inspirational poem, then that I would be like, well, they weren't here for the class and they're getting it all wrong. So that's unfortunate, and it would affect your grades to miss our discussion. But like, for example, if somebody does have I'm flexible. So if somebody does have a situation pop up like last semester where I had in 1302 actually, a lady and her husband's car broke down, and they only had one. So he had to borrow a car from a friend, and she missed 8 weeks of class. But she got rides for the couple of days that she had to be here for, like the presentation day. I think as well for a different day, but I don't remember which one the other one was. But she made sure she got rides for those couple of days that she had to be here to do something in person. And she ended up getting an A in the class, but because she kept up with all the work, submitted it. And she said she watched the videos, but I noticed some of the videos she said she watched, there were 0 views on. So I don't know how that works. But she still got an A in the class because she did the work. So it's possible to not come and still do well, but it's very unlikely over time. She was a good student who just had a problem. There were other students who missed 4 classes and failed because they just don't do anything. Don't be those kind of people. Withdrawals, if you want to withdraw from the class, April 9th, it's the last day to drop the course to receive an automatic W. Email response time, so if you send one Monday through Thursday, you generally will get one within 24 hours, or at least if you turn it in like at the end of one day, like say Monday afternoon, like after I've answered my emails like past 5, and I'd usually answer emails on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday is when I have time set aside. Usually you might not get one till like say Wednesday. So it is at least within 48 hours for me, but you can try again after 24 hours if I haven't responded yet. You're required to have access to basic computer requirements. I do think some students have figured out ways to complete and submit everything through Google Docs on their phone, or even Microsoft Word on their phone. If you figured out how to do that, that's totally doable. But there are times where you have to have Launchpad, and I don't think Launchpad can be done from a phone. I think it has to be done from a computer. So we do expect for you to have access to a computer at some point. Class conduct, I mean, I would hope that everybody can conduct themselves well. And if you become a disruption, I mean, I'll try to ask you to fix it first, and if you can't fix it, then you'll be dropped from the course. Also, if other students are disrupting you, like, you know, like there's a student, I mean, you're okay with bring laptops to class, even look up things on your phone in class. But if people are just constantly on those pieces of technology and it's distracting you, you can email me and say, hey, this person's distracting me. If they're doing work, obviously, for this class, like if they're taking notes or something, that's fine. But if they're like working on a whole essay or like watching videos, definitely send me an email and I'll make them stop bringing it. So again, just set priorities so that you can succeed. I had one student last semester not do so great in my class, but it was because I found out that every time she was coming to my class, she was doing the homework for another class. But then every time she was in the other class, she was doing homework for another class. And every time she was in the other class, she was doing homework. So basically, she was coming to class and not really using the time. She was just finding a place to sit and do homework. So she was like, I don't really understand this concept. And I was like, well, we talked about it the other day and you were here. And she said, oh, I was working on homework for this other class. And I was like, well, you're not using the time well. It's like, you got to homework outside of class, any class really, and then listen in class. So let's see, food and drink. It's fine to have food and drink. Water in a bottle is really officially what we want, but I will always have this Dr. Pepper tin in a Yeti-style cooler with a koozie and a straw every day because I don't drink coffee like some adults do. I drink soda. It's the only way I get my caffeine, so that'll be my thing. Grade posting dates. Really, there are 2 times in the semester we have post grades, only one of which is an official grade. The final grade you get in the class, which is posted by 9 a.m. the day after the last day of class. So like May 7th is the last day of finals. So grades will be posted for every single class you have by May 8th at 9 a.m. After that point, you cannot change your grade. It's not possible. Like that's it. You will receive a midterm grade around week 8, like at the end of week 8. That grade will go on your transcript, but it does not affect your GPA at all. So like if you got an F by the midterm point, it would show an F on your transcript for midterm. Then if you got an A as your final grade, it would show an A as your final grade. So you'd have an F then an A, but the only grade that would actually count would be the A. So I had a student tell me the other day when I was doing registration that last semester he emailed a teacher. The teacher didn't email him back fast enough. So he ended up dropping the class because he needed to know the answer to the question before. And I was like, why'd you drop so early, though? Because it was a few weeks out until you had to drop. He said, well, I didn't want it to go on my midterm grade. And I said, but that grade doesn't do anything. So you dropped a class you were doing well in to keep a grade from happening that wouldn't have affected anything at all. And he went, oh. Yeah, so just so you know, the midterm grade has 0 effect on your actual GPA. You could get an F on every midterm grade and then get an A in the class, and the only thing that counts is the A's. I just want everybody to be aware of that. And then related statements. I think I have to read this one and the next one word for word, so I'm going to do that real quick. As an open-door community college, Paris Junior College provides a comprehensive experience meeting the educational and cultural needs of all students and citizens of Paris and the service area. It is assumed that all students in this class will have received a high school diploma or a GED. Therefore, instruction will be at the high school level or above, including both difficulty and maturity. And that's true of students who are dual credit as well. Like if you're in class here, but you're dual credit enrolled in high school and college at the same time, you're going to be treated as though you're an adult, as you should be. And then the ADA statement. It is the policy of Paris Junior College to provide reasonable accommodations for qualified individuals who are students with disabilities. This college will adhere to all applicable federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and guidelines with respect to providing reasonable accommodations as required to afford equal educational opportunity. It is a student's responsibility to arrange an appointment with a college success coach in the Advising and Counseling Center to obtain a request for accommodations form. For more information, please refer to the Paris Junior College catalog or a student handbook. So if you've got anything that you got accommodations for in high school, those probably could be gotten here as well. You just need, I think, whatever they tell you need to prove that you can get those accommodations. Now, that's getting past like what almost every other teacher has in their syllabus. I have some extra stuff. So I have descriptions of major assignment types. I have sample discussion posts, which I'll actually go over next time, but I also have a sample here in case people want to get started. I talk about revision and how it's used in my class. What achievements are. Like I have a special category of like stuff you can do called achievements. Stuff about course updates and communication, how to do that most effectively in my class. Some useful QR codes if you know what those are. They used to be like, oh, this can be the next big thing is QR codes. Now the only thing I think they're used for is like, I don't even know. Like, does anybody see them used regularly anywhere? I mean, they have it now integrated into like the iPhone camera, so if you point it at one, it just pulls it open, but I don't think it's ever actually super duper important that you know what those things are. You can pay with Walmart Pay. Anything else?
Coupons for Chick-fil-A, I guess.
Chick-fil-A coupons?
Yeah.
Coupons for Chick. Oh yeah, McDonald's does that too. Daily deals. I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
It always gets super bright. Oh wait, it's a Cinemark. You want to pick up your tickets? See, it's got some uses. Not so much on a syllabus, but I have them anyway. So if you want to, go ahead.
Mostly major corporate stuff.
Major corporate stuff and nickels is the usage for QR codes, I guess. So course calendar, which I think is the most important thing, is right there at the end. But we'll start back at major assignment types, brief descriptions. So there's a lot of stuff here. It's because I tried to make it where if you read through this in detail and went slow, you could figure out without listening to me talk or showing you anything how to do a discussion post. But that's if like you missed me talking about this on today and the next class. But basically, every single time we have like readings for the week, you read literature and you do a discussion post on a work of literature. Then you go reply to 2 other people who have also done discussion posts. So it's like having discussions together but online. And I have that right here on Blackboard. Wait, no. If you look here in the discussion post area, you go here. Discussion post 0 is not that big a deal. I call it 0 because I don't want it to get confused with the reading numbers and the discussion numbers. So like discussion post 1 is over week 1 readings and discussion post 2 is over week 2 readings. But I did want you to introduce yourself, so I just gave that the number 0, which is technically not a number. It's the absence of numbers. That's why you can't divide by 0. You're not actually dividing by anything. What am I talking about? It's not math class. So like what you would do is you would go here, you would create a thread. After you've read one of these stories, you would then go down here and you would talk about it for a minute. Your original posts have to be 100 words long. Try to just talk about like whatever you found interesting, intriguing, eye-catching about the story. Don't just tell me what the plot was. I know what the plot was. People want to do that a lot, but I don't just go over to SparkNotes and be like, here's what it was about. I want you to read the story, find what was interesting, and then talk about what you thought was interesting, or whether you hated the character, liked the character, whether you think that the writer is an idiot for a reason or two. I don't really care what you talk about as long as you just go for like the most interesting stuff you can think of or what stood out to you. You do that for 100 words. After you've submitted that, you go and find 2 other people who've done a original post themselves, and you go reply to those people. You can reply on the exact same story that you wrote about. You can reply to people who wrote on completely different stories than what you wrote about, because you only have to write about one. So if like there's 3 different stories you read that time, you only have to write about one of them, even though you're required to read all 3 for the week. But that's kind of how you approach that. Well, where did I go? There we go. You do 1 original post, 2 replies. If you don't do all 3, it won't let me grade it. It waits until you've done all 3 posts, then it'll let me grade it for that week. So make sure if you ever get on, you do all 3. And I'll actually show you an example of me doing that next class. So additionally, if you go up to the top here, there's the sample discussion post. You can see like one guy writes this much, and a couple people reply to that person, and they give their thoughts. And this person's actually replying to that person, but it's if you wanted to go ahead and get started. You don't have to yet, but just so you're aware. Additionally, discussion posts and quizzes I should mention here. Those don't usually become available until after Thursday at like 12:15 each week, and they're only available through Sunday at midnight. So some people have said before, like I tried to find it during the week and I couldn't. Well, they're only available from Thursday to Sunday. That's because I don't generally want people doing it during class. I've noticed that when I make them available all week, people sit in class and do those instead of listen to what we're talking about. And oftentimes they'll talk about what we're writing about in class. But the idea here is that you'll discuss the literature online first before you come to the class. Then we talk about it in class, and then every week at the end of the week, you have quizzes over the literature. So after we've discussed it in class, we have a 10-question quiz on the readings for that week. So at least by the end of the week, you will have had to read all 3, even though you could technically get through the discussion posts with having only read 1 story. And then connection grades or like in-class discussion participation, teamwork grades. Those are just like being here in class, and like sometimes things will pop up that we do, and you'll be graded on that. Launchpad labs, those are very similar to basically exactly like 1301, although your teacher before might have had you doing a certain Launchpad assignment like once every other week or something. But for me, you can do them all just whenever is most convenient for you. If you're able to fit them all into like 1 week, get them all done in 1 week, you can do them all in 1 week. There's no like requirement to do them one at a time over the course of the semester. Then we have 3 of those evaluation synthesis essays that I told you about. I'll assign them next time so that you'll know more about them. The critical analysis essay, I'll assign that later in the semester, a couple weeks from now. There is a peer review over our research paper assignment that happens near the end of the class. There is a research paper assignment, which this gives you a basic idea of it if you want to get started thinking about that, but I probably won't talk about that until next time, if at all, until we actually assign the thing. But it basically asks you to relate the literature we're reading to stuff that's going on in the real world. If you wanted to start thinking about how can I link the two, you could use this paragraph to start thinking about that ahead of time. Research presentation. Basically, once you've done your research paper, after that, we'll have, like the week right before finals, we'll have presentations over our research. And then the final exam for the class, it is a handwritten essay. But the only people who have to write the handwritten final are the people who have an essay average below 80% in the class. So you take all of your essays, you average them up based on weight. So like, the evaluation census essays are worth 5%, critical analysis worth 10, the research paper worth 20. You add those up, divide by the appropriate weight for each, and then come at your essay average of 80. So if you get an 80 essay average, you won't have to write the final, and whatever your grade was on your essay average will become your final exam grade. So you don't have to worry about writing it. So that's something to keep in mind so that you turn in essays and stuff. Again, I said I have a sample discussion post here. The original posts have to be 100 words, and the replies have to be 50 apiece. So you're writing about 200 words of text each week, but they're very simple to write. It's like original post like 4 sentences, and like a reply is like 2, maybe 3. It's not very much. Revision. So every one of the essays that we have in the class, so evaluation, synthesis 1, 2, and 3, critical analysis, and the research paper, all of those essays can be revised, meaning once you turn it in, you can take the feedback that I give you and then resubmit the paper. Because a lot of times you'll get a grade back and you'll be like, I'm not so happy with that grade. What did he say to do? And I'll tell you like what the issues were with the paper. You can then go and make changes based on the issues I told you were there and turn it back in. And I won't give you a few points on that. You can get all the way up to 100 every single time you revise. So if you got a 0 the first time because you were just wildly off topic, but the second time you turn it in, I'm like, wow, that's like an A paper. Instead of giving you like 10 more points or 20 more points like teachers maybe did in high school, I'll literally just give you the new grade. Like I'll say, well, this is a 95 paper now, so now your grade is a 95. Because I always felt like, what's the point of giving like a couple bonus points if it's not really a motivating thing? You're like, you could do better. Like you can always, it's almost like saying when teachers give like a couple more points back for a revision, it's like saying you can what's the American dream? You can become anything you want to be with enough hard work, This is almost like the whole giving you a couple points back, but not all of them, is like saying you can be anything you want to be, but once you've made that first impression, you're not going to change it by much. Was kind of how I always took that from teachers. I really feel like that's not true, although people do sometimes treat it that way. I feel like people can change. God, I freaking hate. Y'all ever heard of cancel culture?
What?
Y'all heard of that? Cancel culture? So, for example, Kevin Hart, like 10, 15 years ago, tweets something about gay people. And now today, everybody's like, you apologize for who you were 15 years ago. Like I kind of like when it comes to like the opinions you had. Like I mean, if we did that, I mean like Joe Biden was I think he was against I think it was for segregation back in the day. Hillary Clinton was against gay marriage. Trump was a Democrat. We held everybody accountable for everything they did in the past.
Holding a grudge?
Yeah, it's kind of like not forgiving people for like not people say this is who I am now, and people being like, yeah, but you need to apologize for who you were 15 years ago. And you're like, yeah, but I'm kind of already who I am now. So I kind of feel like revision's important because it lets you say, yeah, that person who got a 0, they're gone now. I'm 95 kid. I'm 100 kid. You know, that's kind of how I feel like the world should be. Has anybody watched that Netflix where Kevin Hart has a little documentary about Kevin Hart?
I have the don't.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know the name of it.
Like him, like doing
Yeah.
episodes. My parents watched a bit of it. I went. What am I going?
We watched all of it, and he was like, man, he's had a rough couple years, even though he's made a hell of a lot of money.
Especially with the accident too. He said he was doing a good job.
And the weird thing is like that happened like after the show was over, so like I didn't get to see like what his effect was there. Now achievements. So I said that revision is the only way you can raise your grade in the class. There's no extra credit. However, there are behaviors you can use that will get you extra points, and those are all categorized as achievements. For whatever reason, I guess just to make it fun for me, I gave them color coding and gave them names based on the Infinity Stones from Marvel. What?
You seen Endgame?
Oh yeah. It was pretty good. So the Space Stone. So if you miss no more than 4 classes through week 15, so if you're always in this space, I'll use only your 5 highest quiz grades. So that's pretty useful because we have 10 of those. So like you only half would count. And the Power Stone is if you acquire the Space Stone. So if you miss no more than 4 classes through week 15 and you arrive late no more than 4 times the entire semester, and I don't count the first day, I'll add 10 points to your critical analysis essay. So you get 10 bonus points on a paper that's worth 10% of the class. And that's like if you have the power to be on time. The Time Stone. So if you submit all 5 essays on time, now with each essay receiving a grade of at least 50 on the first attempt. So it's like somebody who both submits something on time and they didn't just turn in a placeholder. You know, they didn't just turn in, so I can revise this later. Let me just turn in like my first paragraph and then later it'd be like an actual essay that you tried to finish completely. You get the Time Stone. And if that's the case, I'll only use your 5 highest discussion post grades. And then the Reality Stone. So if you submit your info sheet, syllabus contract, and syllabus quiz, you'll unlock the ability to revise your essays. I'm not sure yet if the info sheet is there. I'm a little curious. I'm going to go over here real quick and see what the timing is I had on the assignment, the info sheet assignment. Well, here it says it's already, oh, that's 1301. Duh, right, guys? Do people say duh anymore? We said that in the 90s, but I don't know if we say that anymore.
I think some people do still.
People still say it? I just think you're trying to make me feel good. 11 a.m. We'll go. Well, that's actually after the class is over. So that's stupid. We'll set it back for 9:30. Okay, so now you can see info sheet. So if you do the info sheet assignment and the discussion post assignment, 0, and the syllabus, syllabus quiz, syllabus contract, and the info sheet assignment, then you unlock the ability to revise essays. So those are very early assignments in the class and super easy to do. The Mind Stone, so if you have an essay average of 80 or above, so you have a good mind, you'll get high grades on your essays. Then your essay average, like I told you, will become your final exam grade, and you're exempt from the final and do not have to attend on final exam day. And then the Soul Stone. This is probably one of the toughest to get for whatever reason. Attend both grade conferences. So we have 2 grade conferences where I inform you what your grades are at that point in the class. One in week 9 and one in week 13. And then you come to the research paper peer review day, and you have a research paper with you for reviewing. And that's the day of the research paper's due date. It's due that night. So you have to basically be kind of ready to go before the paper's due. And And when you submit that research paper, you get a grade of at least a 50 on the first attempt. Unless it's for like accidentally forgetting to put your works cited on there, which I won't count that. I'll be like, oh, you forgot your works cited, turn it again. Then I will round your final average up to the next letter grade if ending in 7 or 8, not just 9. So like usually I'll round like say an 89.5 up to a 90. Generally I do that naturally. But if you have this achievement, then if you have like an 87, I'll round that up to a 90. Or a 77, I'll round that up to an 80. So that's really helpful, like for people who you work hard. It's just like, and you do everything you're supposed to be doing. Just sometimes your grades aren't that high. It can help those people still get A's in the class, even though maybe it hasn't been working out for you in every single circumstance. Bless you. Bless you again. Now there are some conditions for these. I've noticed some people in the class get confused. The essay average of 80 is calculated before any points are added from achievements. So if you get that 10 points added to your critical analysis essay, that can't help you get an essay average of an 80. You have to calculate that afterwards. Also, you cannot be exempted from attending the final exam without doing both a research presentation and attending both research presentation days. So you still have to do a research present. I've had some people go, well, technically I could be exempt from the final and then not do a presentation and still have an A, and I was like, I don't like that. So I just added the qualification. You have to do a presentation and be there for both presentation days so you can participate in other people's presentations in order to be exempt from the final. Now, communicating with me. So if we cancel classes because of inclement weather, because climate change is real and it's getting worse, you might want to sign up for dragon alerts because you never know. Tornadoes, floods, snow apocalypse. It could all happen. Everything's fair game. It snowed in Saudi Arabia this week, I think, didn't it?
It all happened in one day 2 days ago. That we were on tornado watch until 9, and then it snowed in the morning.
It was 67 one day, and the next day it was 28. It's crazy. It was crazy Texas weather. Also climate change. But it's only going to get worse. So go ahead and sign up for our dragon alerts so that if we do close for weather, you'll be alerted. And I think that PJC was monitoring the weather pretty well the other day because it was rainy, but we didn't close. And like on Friday, and lots of schools were like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, we got to close. And it was kind of like just heavy rain. That's all we ended up having, at least in this area. Where'd they end up having tornado warning? Did they have a warning anywhere? Like where they actually had one touchdown was like in kind of like Cleburne area. If I cancel classes, sometimes I will because I'll have like a conference or a workshop or something. I had one conference last semester, didn't I? Where I went to it and I was gone. I will generally email you all at that dragon mail address, so you'd have to like follow that. If it's sudden, usually I'll let you know ahead of time. But I also have a teenager and a toddler, so random things could pop up. It's good to have all official communications from Paris Junior College will come to your dragon mail, so you need to activate that, set it up for notifications to your phone immediately if you haven't already done so. But it's also good to get a pretty professional looking email that's like some version of your name and your birth year, or not something like, let's see, basically everybody does that these days, right? Yeah, I mean it's all some version of almost all of your names. It's fun to have a username online that like represents us, but reserve that for like Instagram, like your spam account or something. Silly names can go there. Real stuff goes for the emails that you want to be emailed at professionally. And then it's also the best way to contact me, so it's good to have one. QR codes, I mentioned those earlier. Contacting me, definitely email. I can't reiterate how much email is the way to contact me and not phones. One semester guy just completely ignored it over and over. He kept calling my phone. I was like, hey, you're never going to catch me. I'm like a gingerbread man. I don't know why I said that. I'm not at all like a gingerbread man. I'm a human man. So a helpful hint, too, with emails, always include your name, a specifically worded concern in your emails, whether to myself, other professors, future employers, etc. When we receive emails that read, are we doing anything today? I have work, with no name, no class, no address to me specifically. Literally the teachers, we all just kind of share those funny emails. One time I had like no name attached, no name at all. And a student just put, I have diarrhea, I can't come. I didn't even know who it was. So I was just like making assumptions. So like every single person absent that day, I was like, are they the one without diarrhea? Are they one? I said I didn't know. And so I emailed back and I said, who is this? What class is this? What are you talking? And they were like, they said something crazy too. Like, this is John. was like, I have like 4 of those. Like, it doesn't really help me. So it's good to be as specific as possible in advance so that the teacher knows exactly who you are and what you're trying to say. Let's see QR codes for anything you might want to use. This is what I think is the most important page of most syllabi. Every teacher has a syllabus, and they're all a little bit different. Teachers have different requirements and things which make their class suck or make them pretty good. One of the things I like to do is provide as much detail as possible on the calendar, because back when I was in school, the most frustrating thing was to have a teacher that was like week 1. You're like math class, and it was like week 1 math, week 2 more math, and you're just like, what? Like, what are we doing? Now, the one frustrating thing I think about my syllabus is because I always think of things in terms of week and day. So I can tell you right now, week 12, day 2, that's when the research papers due. I can tell you that week 9, day 1, that's when we're having our first grade conference. I know what everything is in terms of like week and day number. I don't know in terms of date, because dates change all the time, whereas week and day number always stay the same. So what I do for every week, and because I teach classes Monday through Thursday, I have the range from Monday to Thursday's dates. And you just sort of have to know what day your class meets. So you meet on Monday, so this week Monday is January 13th, and then the Wednesday would be 2 days later, January 15th. So basically just add 2. So actually the 16th is a Thursday, not a Wednesday. So you can see right today it says reviewing the course and syllabus, assigning the info sheets, and then signing the contract, which is the last page of the syllabus. And then next time we're discussing kind of the reading process and what is argument, but mainly I'm assigning the Launchpad labs and assigning the evaluation census assignment. Also Sunday, usually with quizzes and discussion posts and any other assignments, an exact date is included if it's not going to be on the day itself of that week. So January 19th, Sunday night, is when the info sheet, the first syllabus quiz, and then the intro discussion post and the one over the first literature is due. So that's a lot really quickly. But I tried to, in this particular week, and in fact the first couple of weeks, provide literature that I think, I've always got an online link. So you could look at, there's always going to be one story that week that can be accessed online, at least for the first few weeks. So there's a link you can click in the PDF that'll take you directly to one of the stories, so that if you're not able to get a textbook for the first few weeks because you're waiting on your financial aid to come through, that's a way to get through these whole discussion post things, is to be able to click those. But because we have discussion post 1 over the week 1 readings, you have to look at the week 1 readings here and say, okay, I need to read barn burning so I can hurry up and do my discussion post and then do 2 replies. But every week it kind of breaks down like this. The quiz is always what I think you should do first at the end of the week, because that's going to be over the literature we've already read. Like, for example, this week there are no readings, so that we've already done. So it's over the syllabus, because that's really all we've read. Then you do the info sheet, and then you read the readings, then do the discussion posts. And that's why I have them coded green, yellow, red. It's like green means go, yellow means that's what's next, and then red is stop. And that's the end of that. So at that sequence. So you'll notice that every time you do a discussion post, you do that before we talk about the readings in class. But every time you do a quiz, that's actually after we talk about the readings in class. So you're never doing discussion posts and quizzes over the same readings at the same time. The quiz that unlocks will be about different literature than the discussion post that unlocks, because we're doing discussion post over barn burning, then we're talking about barn burning in class, then we do a quiz over barn burning. And the reason I do that is because a long time ago I could never get students to talk about the literature in class, and I realized it was because they hadn't read it. But if I had discussion posts due before that, they would have to at least read something, then do a discussion post. Then when they came to class, hey, they've read something. And then I didn't want to do the quizzes up front, because a lot of times some students need to play catch up and get those quizzes done. So I put those after the readings. And also some people understand the readings better after we've talked about them in class. So stuff that maybe they wouldn't have gotten, they get later. But class sort of continues like that, where you do a discussion post, then you go to class, listen, do the quiz, then the next set of readings, discussion post, quiz. The first essays do week 3, day 1, and then I assign the next one the next class. That one's due week 5, day 2. Then the next essay is due week 7, day 2. Week 8, day 2, I assign the research paper. We have a spring break this semester, so there's no class during spring break. If any teacher says they're meeting during spring break, they're wrong. I don't know why, but it's possible. School will be closed as well that week. And then right when we come back from spring break, we have our first grade conference. The very next week, the research paper planning is due. So like you'll have basically 2 weeks and spring break, so 3 weeks total, to come up with an idea for the research paper. Then we have a weird little poetry essay right between the research paper and the proposal. And then the research paper is due in week 12, day 2. But really, week 12, day 2, once the research paper is due, that's when most of our work is done. There's not a whole lot after that. If you've already done the labs too on your own time, those are due the next week, but you could have already got them done. And really, you don't really have a lot we're doing if you look at it. Like, we do the presentations in 1 week, but all the work for our class is basically done week 12, day 2. And I generally try to make my class easier at the end because a lot of classes are getting harder at the end, and the tests that count for more are at the end of the class. So I try not to take up too much of your time near the end. Final exam. I have all the final exams that I have for classes meeting here. What was that? That made no sense, I don't think, what I just said. Every class I have, their final exam time is in every single syllabus I have, so you can kind of see where I'm going to be during final exam week. Also, if you want to see like where any of your final exam classes are, I've got the final exam schedule posted, but I have my classes highlighted over there on that. I don't know if you can see that weird sheet that's got yellow highlighting at the top and then a blue and some green lines and then the blue and orange. That's this final exam schedule for all classes this semester. So if you want to know like when will my finals be at the end of the semester for all my classes, you can go look at that. Also, Trio. Very good tutor we have downstairs for like English assignments. If you need some help with some English assignments, like in writing essays and stuff, we have a very good tutor down there named Heather this semester. She's got her schedule up, and I put it in my classroom. It's also posted around the building on colored sheets. But she's very helpful. I think I had students use her last semester, and we're, I think, happy with it. I think they were happy with her in general. And she's pretty good at like checking and making sure like your arguments seem like they make sense and your citations are well done. So is there any questions about anything I've said so far that seems confusing? Chances are if you have a question, other people do too. So it's good to ask. Yeah. Okay. The very last page of the syllabus is syllabus contract. That's one of the things for that one achievement. Basically, it says, I've read this or at least agree to be held accountable for it. And I understand that discussion posts about a reading must be completed prior to us talking about it in class. And quizzes must be completed after we talked about it in class. And that generally speaking, quizzes and discussion posts don't unlock until 12:30 p.m. on Thursdays and are only open until 11:59 p.m. on Sundays. So they're only ever open for like 3 days, not Monday through Thursday. And then once you've seen that, you say Mr. Nichols, I, and you print your name there, and you sign, date, print, put your non-PJC email there again, so I have 2 sets of handwriting to compare to each other. And you rip it off, and you all pass it toward the center, and I'll come grab them here in a minute. But syllabus quiz is the other thing you have to do this weekend. I'll talk about discussion posts next time. But the syllabus quiz, you just go there. It's got questions about the syllabus, so have that next to you. And then the other thing, this might be a little complicated to submit if you've never done anything like this before, is the info sheet. Has anybody besides students who've, well, have y'all used Google Forms before? Like somebody's had you go to like a Google form and like you fill it out? That's basically what this is. The problem is I can't make Google Form communicate with Blackboard. It's not possible. So the only way you're going to get credit for this assignment is both to fill out the Google form, and after you're done filling it out, take a screenshot or a photo and then submit it here like you would any assignment on Blackboard for any class. So if you ever submitted an essay for any class before, you would do it exactly the same way. You browse your computer for the picture. In fact, some people have found it's easier to do it on their phone. where you fill out the Google form on your computer or even on your phone, screenshot or take a photo of your computer with your phone, and then submit the assignment from your phone, because it always just goes straight. The only folder it usually lets you pick is your photo album. And you click your photo album, and then it does that. I think I actually created a video for how to do that last semester. I might post that as well somewhere in like tools videos or something. But you go to the link back over here, Google form link. It takes you to, oh, and I've got to sign in for, let's see, do I have a Magnus? Crap. The Magnus Baraka. I think that's it. That's fine. I don't care. So let's see. You go through, you fill this out. It asks you like questions about the class, what section you're in, I think, right? Yeah. Make sure you choose the correct section. And then once you get done with this, you will have to take a screenshot. Now, I have a program called Dropbox on my computer where if I hit print screen, the print screen button on my keyboard, it takes a screenshot and puts it in a folder automatically called screenshots. So I've already got it saved. So then I would just upload that to Blackboard like it was an essay on that browse your computer part. Because I mean, there's two steps here. There's filling out the form, getting it complete, and then there's taking the screenshot and submitting the screenshot. And I don't want you to forget that second step. So if you've signed your syllabus contract, pass that toward the center. I'll grab those from the middle now. Don't forget to do your syllabus quiz and the info sheet and submit that screenshot. And if you have any issues with the submitting of the screenshot, I would have one request. Come ask me about that in class. Don't just email me the screenshot. Screenshot files are huge and my email's almost full, and it could cause me not to get anybody's email at all. So like, come ask me and I can help you with that product. You have a great day. That the syllabus quiz is due, so that's located here under quizzes. So you can see the only things you'll ever be able to do, the only things that will pop up are the things that are being due right now. So if you can see something, that means do it because it's due. Don't wait until Monday because it'll be gone. That's under the quizzes section. And then there's discussion post 0 and 1. So if you wanted to go do the intro post, you could now, although I might wait and do the literature post until I've talked more about it next time. The only other thing you have to do is, under the assignments, this info sheet. It's very low brain power, I think. It's kind of like a giant BuzzFeed quiz, but for me. No, it's not quite that bad. You click here to go to Google Forms. You sign in. And it'll take you to the forms page. You fill out the form. It looks a lot longer than it is, but it's just because all the categories are real fat. I don't know why they're so fat. It could be smaller, but it doesn't want to be. After you're done filling it out, because I can't make Google communicate with Blackboard. It won't tell me you're like, oh, they're done. The only way I need some touchstone that tells me you're done and something you can submit to show me you're done. So what I have you do is I mentioned how you can screenshot, right? So if I take a screenshot right now, I can go over here. Bruh. What happened? Do I have to click this window then screenshot? There it is. Apparently you can't screenshot while Camtasia is active. I got my screenshot. I can now submit this screenshot like this. You go and you click it like it's an essay. If you've ever done an essay for a class before, you click the title of the assignment. You scroll down. You browse your computer for the file. I have a screenshot image, so I'll just go here to Screenshots, click it, open. Scroll to the bottom, hit submit. And it's going to not show anything at first. You just hit refresh. It'll probably show it.
And there's my screenshot. And what you do is you wait till you've finished the form and it says thank you for submitting. Screenshot that and submit that picture. So ideally this would say thank you for submitting at the top, and I've submitted it and I get a grade for it. And so you have to submit the screenshot to get the grade for having done the form. Okay? So I don't really care what type of screenshot you give me. If you do the whole thing on your phone and you screenshot on your phone and do it that way, that's fine. If you can't figure out how to screenshot on your computer, but you filled it on the computer and you want to take a picture with your phone of your computer screen, that's fine. If, for some reason, you did the whole thing on your phone, you can't figure out how to screenshot on your phone, but you know how to take a picture with your webcam on your computer, so you point at your webcam, take a picture with the webcam, then submit that, that's fine. Just as long as I get some sort of picture of that screen that shows that you're done, I'm okay. And you can have to do that and fill out the form. That's the only way I'm able to give you a grade for that. So, info sheet, intro discussion post over the literature, syllabus quiz, and then pass in the syllabus contract sheets, the very last sheet of your syllabus. You fill it out and you pass it toward the center of the room, and I'll come pick them up on the sides here. I wouldn't suggest doing discussion posts until we've had our next class, so I can show you more detail as to what it looks like. But definitely the syllabus quiz and info sheets could be completed now. Y'all have a great day.